Well, Scott Hessel is the drummer of one of my favorite and most enduring bands, the Gin Blossoms, and he's kind enough to join me right now. Scott, it's great to have you. How are you doing?
Great to have you. Great to be had.
Well, let me just dive into it. You're the drummer of a band that has scored a very healthy number of top 40 hits, has sold millions of albums over the years.
Millions.
Millions, that's right. Millions of albums. What's it like for you to, people are still coming and paying money to see the Gin Blossoms after all these years to go up to that drum kit every night and perform?
You know what? It's fantastic. I reflect on this a lot, actually, that bands really do not all have the opportunity to continue to make music and play music as long as this band has done so. And so it really is quite amazing if you think about it. Like, the number of bands that you get into and you play, you rock and roll, and you think you have these dreams, you aspire to someday be out there touring. And so you get in a van and you think, okay, this is it. I've reached the pinnacle. And then all of a sudden it's like, it goes away. The band breaks up, whatever. So for this band to stay together as long as it has, and to continue to reach new fans sort of year after year, very organically, just by getting out and playing the music, it's pretty remarkable.
One big selling point, Scott, I think about your band as the Red Rock and Blue organization. We've had you twice at the Varsity here in Baton Rouge. The second time, real quick, I want to say probably the most exciting night we've ever had. We had you guys on a Sunday night before Mardi Gras and sold out the building, packed house. You were performing the 25-year anniversary of New Miserable Experience. And
that's right, yeah.
Just a tremendous night that night. But I think one of the most endearing things about this band is the guys that hit it big are still in the band. I don't like to go to a show and see a logo of a band and I go and there's one original member out of the five, right?
We joke about this all the time, and I'm not going to name any of the bands that that sort of fit that description, but it's pretty funny because we've played with a couple of bands and we've looked up and we've seen, like you said, the giant backdrop and the giant logo, and then we look at who's in the band, and we don't recognize anybody, and it's pretty funny because our bass player Bill has jokingly said, "Well, how can we arrange? Let's make that happen for us so we can just stay home." But he's kidding, of course. But it is pretty remarkable, Yeah, same dudes. Besides me, like I'm actually the longest tenured drummer at this point. Not the original. Original was a guy that I was a huge fan of. It's like a mutual admiration society. A guy named Phil Rhodes, and Phil and I we actually keep in touch, and it's really kind of nice because when this band sort of started out and started hitting it big and having some success, you talk about Hey Jealousy. It was Hey Jealousy for me because all I wanted to do was be in the Gin Blossoms. And so I sort of just kept waiting, and I got my turn. But Phil and I are friends, and it's very cool to be able to represent the original songs.
Well, you've been in the band almost a decade now, and when you get up and you play these songs, Hey Jealousy is one that I think anytime somebody hears it, it brings them back to whether they were in high school or college or whatever. They remember where they were at that moment of time. And I think Robin Wilson, I read an interview he gave with Rolling Stone. He said, somehow we never lost our credibility. And I think about that. I think these hit songs have not lost anything as years have gone by.
Yeah, I agree. And well before I ever started playing with these guys and, being able to enjoy playing their music, I used to say the Gin Blossom songs are timeless. The reason why the Gin Blossoms are able to continue to play shows, well past the expiration date of a lot of bands that have, songs, is because the songs themselves are timeless, and they will be played on whatever format, will exist in 50 years. Maybe I'll be wearing, not we, but maybe the kids in 50 years will be wearing like implants, and they'll just hear "Hey Jealousy" pop on in their brain somewhere. But yeah, the songs will be played forever.
To this day, so the hit songs, "Hey Jealousy," "Found Out About You," awesome song. "Follow You Down" might be my favorite. I think that is the ultimate kind of feel-good song. You're driving down the highway on a sunny day. Just a great tune. I think technically the biggest hit for the band. It went top 10 until I hear about it. Until I hear it from you. "Allison Road," "Until I Fall Away." There was even a song called "As Long as It Matters" that was nominated for a Grammy. You're in the back there, but what song gets the biggest reaction from the crowd?
"Hey Jealousy" is obviously like the show's not stopper, because we usually play it near the end of the set. But yeah, the songs that you mentioned, just as soon as the first notes are played, boom, it's like that the next 3.5, 4 minutes, you're going to have the response from the audience that sort of makes it all worthwhile, makes the 4:30 a.m. lobby calls and the flying and the driving. It makes it all worthwhile at that very moment. You're like, this is what it's about. So, yeah, the other songs that we play in the set are, I always think of it like we played those songs as the setup to get to the hits. And so if you can play a 90-minute set, unless you're the Foo Fighters and you're playing 90 minutes of, one after another, no band is ever going to have 90 minutes of just hits, but we have enough hits within our set to keep the audience kind of lured in, and we always have that payoff at the end. So it's a fun set to play.
And I encourage people, New Miserable Experience. You've got songs on the album like "Pieces of the Night," which
it's a great song.
Yeah, you go to YouTube comments, everyone's got their favorite. Some people say that's the best song they've ever done, or 29, or, "Hands Are Tied," or "Lost Horizons."
Sure.
What was it like for you to play that album? And a quick joke about that, "Hey Jealousy" was song number 2. So if you showed up late.
Exactly, right? Yeah, it's like I don't think when they were sequencing that record, they probably did not think that song was going to be the song. And maybe they would have put that first. I don't know. I forget what song. "Lost Horizons" was first. Yeah. So that tour was actually really, really fun. We had a lot of fun playing that album from start to finish. I'm a fan of tours. I think U2 did it a couple of years ago with the Joshua Tree tour. But I'm a fan of shows where the band gets up and sort of says, "Okay, we're going to play this record. We're going to drop the needle, and you are now going to experience the record from start to finish." I love tours like that. So that tour was really, really fun, and then it also kind of made things a little different for us because we played it at the top of the set, or actually, I think we played it in the middle. So we played like a few of the newer songs first, then the middle of the set we played the album, and then we finished the set, or finished the the show with some other songs. And it was just a really very well balanced tour, but it was a lot of fun.
And one thing, Scott, that you read on paper and you might say, how's that going to go? But it was awesome. Robin Wilson, for his acoustic solo thing, he came out and did I Want It That Way by the Backstreet Boys.
Yeah, he did.
I thought he did a masterful job of recrafting that and making it kind of a Gin Blossom song, so to speak.
Well, first of all, Robin is, how do I put this? He is a fan of songs that you wouldn't think he would be a fan of. Mm-hmm. So he'll break out with the Backstreet Boys, or he'll play a Madonna song, or, we've actually been trying to sprinkle in some covers pretty much since I've been in the band. Like we were doing a replacement song when I think it was Can't Hardly Wait. Is that the song? Anyway, so we've been playing covers all along. And these guys, they used to have a cover band going back to the old Long Longs days when they played at Long Longs on Mill Avenue in Tempe or something. So covers have always been sort of a staple of the Gin Blossoms. And so, yeah, it's fun to play covers in general. I love playing it. And especially the way we play it, because we don't, when the Gin Blossoms play a cover, it doesn't really sound like the original, but that's cool,
Yeah. Well, I think that's what a lot of people say, right? If you cover a song, put your own spin on it. Don't
make it your own.
Yeah.
And while you mentioned Robin Wilson, I think I had a chance to interview Jesse Valenzuela a few years back, and I asked Jesse about how does Robin sound the same today as he did, almost 30 years ago. And I think there's something to be said, too, about not painting yourself into a corner in the studio and singing too high that when you get older, you can't hit the same notes. But he's always kind of, kept it where he can hit it, and he still hits it.
Yeah, and I'll tell you something. Both of those guys, Robin and Jesse, their voices, to my ears, they have aged like fine wine. Like they truly, they are. They're just fantastic singers, and Robin, he will go through, he'll arrive to the show and he'll go through his warm-ups or whatnot. And I always marvel at the fact that Robin is just, his voice is, to me, not lost a beat. And Jesse's just got such a smooth voice. He's got that range, he's got a very, he's got that baritone, and then he can get up high. So, and those guys just complement each other so well, they just, it's really nice to be able to sit behind the drums, have my in-ears in, and actually feel like I'm playing with a record, like I hear the vocals, and it's just always so cool, because it literally feels like I'm just sitting down and playing with the Gin Blossoms record. It's fantastic.
That's awesome. Now, one song that the Gin Blossoms recorded on their album, Congratulations, I'm Sorry, and at least I would think it'd be like in the top 15 most well-known Gin Blossom songs, but I was kind of told from the Gin Blossoms family, that song's kind of, we don't really, was Day Job.
I was gonna tell you, it's Day Job, isn't it?
Yeah. Day Job.
Let me just tell you something about Day Job. As a drummer, I wish we would play Day Job every night. How many times have we played Day Job? Twice. I don't know what the aversion to Day Job is. Maybe there's some sort of, there was an incident one night or something. I don't know. But all I know is that I hear Day Job, and it, like, the drums are just chaotic, and I personally love that song. Yeah. And it was released as a single, if I recall. Yeah. And I listen to it now and I think, man, this just sounds like, to me, it sounds like something the Foo Fighters would do. Yeah. I mean, it's a rocker.
It definitely is a heavier tune for the Gin Blossoms, and there was a music video when MTV played those things back in the day, and kind of a black and white thing where people were, trying to decide what they're going to do with their career and, get a job, and still relevant today to,
Yeah, totally, right?
the Gin Blossoms over the years, they recorded Major Lodge Victory. That was in 2006. There's a song called Someday Soon that I love on that album. Learning the Hard Way. Then No Chocolate Cake, that came out in 2010. Wave Bye Bye, I think that's one of the best songs the band's ever done. Really good.
I have a funny story about Wave Bye Bye.
Okay.
So it was the very first show that I played with the Gin Blossoms. We didn't rehearse. I showed up with a plane ticket in hand and got to the show and sat down, and I was like, okay, well, here we go. So the first show that we played was sort of a rehearsal, and I counted off what I thought was going to be Wave Bye Bye, and no, it wasn't Wave Bye Bye. So that was my, and doing that, by the way, Robin turned around and said, wait, stop the song. Because I was playing a song, like I was counting a song off that was like twice the speed as Wave Bye Bye, twice the tempo. So anyway, Wave Bye Bye, it always has a special place in my heart because I will always remember that song as the song that I counted off incorrectly.
That was your transition from hired gun to permanent member.
Well, that was my baptism by fire. But that was actually a really fun night because it was like one of those, okay, well, here you go. Let's see what happens. And the first show was like, okay, well, I think this is going to work. And everybody was very happy. And, then, 10,000 shows later, I think we got it.
10,000 shows and day job twice. Bad ratio.
Right. There's my point. The ratio, unacceptable.
Real quick, did you ever watch that documentary, Hired Gun, on Netflix? About, musicians who would get a chance?
Yeah, no, I think I heard about it, but I haven't watched it yet. I watched the, something similar was the one about the backing vocalists.
Okay.
That was quite good too.
Yeah, just kind of a fascinating deal about how one night you could be standing on stage with Billy Joel in front of 20,000 people, and then the day later you're out and no one cares and no one knows who you are. It was a
sure.
Yeah, it was an interesting deal.
So Scott, you finally got to get in the studio and record with the band in 2018, right? And record Mixed Reality, which I've listened to, and very catchy, great tunes. A Healthy Serving, you did 15 or 16 songs.
That was a long record, yeah.
And you being in the music business, I think you know what I'm getting at here.
Oh, yeah.
Bands who
have sold millions of records, even a Guns N' Roses would probably have a discussion, hey, is it worth recording a live album or recording an album these days or not? What's the discussion like? Hey, do we want to go in the studio and do this for 6 months? Is it worth it? How'd that all work out?
Well, it's a very insightful question because I think before you go into a studio and you say, as a band, you say, okay, we want to record new music. It's exciting, and you put in the work, and you go in and you record the record, and then you release it into the world, right? And from that point on, you don't have any control over whether or not people like it, even hear it, buy it, any of that stuff. So it becomes just sort of like a little, like you're a little hatchling, and it just sort of flies off, and you wave bye-bye. and so the post-mortem, what you do if the record doesn't sell, or if it sells reasonably, whatever, then you say, okay, well, was that worth it? Any band, and I'm not even talking about Mixed Reality, is just in general. And I think nowadays it's really hard to get the attention of anybody with new music. It's just, it's very tricky. It's very difficult, especially certain genres, they don't tend to lend themselves towards capturing people's attention as much as easy as other genres. So I guess what I'm getting at is the easiest thing for a band like us is to get out there and tour and play the hits, and you can borrow from Mixed Reality. We actually play several songs off of Mixed Reality because we're proud of the record. You know, we like the material.
Sure.
Now, when people are in the audience, they are probably hearing a lot of those songs for the first time, a lot of the crowd.
Mhm.
But there are people who did buy the record and did hear the songs. And so, you know, you try to strike a balance, because that comes down to satisfying the band's desire to present something new and interesting, and also at the same time not alienating all of the people that showed up to pay money to hear the hits.
Yeah, just to interject, I mean, most people, just to dumb it down, feel like the industry is broken. The days of waiting the line outside the record store, which there is no record store anymore, to get the new Metallica or Michael Jackson or Van Halen or whatever, that's all over with, and all the money is in the live performance. And unless you're Olivia Rodrigo, is that right, Scott? You know, at the top of the charts these days, maybe you're not going to make a whole lot of money on sales.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, you know, and again, when you're putting the record together, you have the biggest dreams. You say, okay, this record's going to bust through somehow, and this song is going to, you know, maybe it'll catch the attention of somebody, it'll catch fire, or something will go viral. You never know, right?
Yeah.
And then you put it out, and again, you have really no control over it. And so, you know, I mean, I am personally proud of it, and I am especially happy that I finally got to record
Sure.
with the band, which I had been waiting to do for a number of years, because we actually talked about doing this record for several years. So I'm still very hopeful that we're gonna do some more recording. There's a really good live record that's in the can that we recorded at the House of Blues in Chicago, and there's also a live video. And I'm really hopeful that gets out there, because, you know, nowadays, if you pull up your Netflix queue, you see all sorts of artists that have put out live videos, and you see live records being released still. Sure. And the versions that we did of those songs are really, they're fantastic.
Once again, I would encourage people to check out Mixed Reality, the album. Was Break the lead single? It seemed like it was the song that you guys were performing.
Yeah, that was the one that was sort of the unofficial, I mean, singles, you know, like I always think of singles like, here's your 45 here, you know, but
Right.
There's no such thing as that anymore. But yeah, the Break was the lead track that we put out. Yeah.
There's a song on there. There's a song on the album called "The Devil's Daughter," and I heard the opening line. And I was like, "Whoa! All right. Well, we're not gonna hear this one in the elevator or at the grocery store, Scott."
Yeah, I thought this was a family show. Yeah, that was I think it was a provocative little ditty, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Robin had some lyrics, and, you know, we kind of worked it up and recorded it, and, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't know if it's going to be played at the church potluck, but.
And I want to give Bill Lean some love.
Oh, of course.
Kind of the quiet, you know, personality, but he kind of stepped forth and he wrote a couple of songs for this album, didn't he?
Yeah, he sure did. Yeah, in fact, Megapon King is a fantastic song. I always think that song actually reminds me a lot of a band like Wilco, which I love Wilco. And when we play that song, I think that that's the Jim Blossom sort of channeling kind of a Wilco vibe, kind of branching out a little bit, kind of like the arrangement's unique. The lyrics are really good. It's a really good song. I think Robin has gone on record and said that's his favorite song on the record. So,
and a couple more things to piggyback what you were just talking about. Could you imagine, you're in a band, I believe, where people are young enough like me that will continue to go to shows for hopefully another 20, 30 years, whatever. Can you imagine being 20 or 25 years old and trying to break in these days? It just seems like it's so much more difficult than it used to be. And young people are doing stupid things on social media to get attention. Hey, look at me. And it's just, there's an avalanche of material out there too.
I had a discussion the other day with a younger guy about music in general, and he was starting to play me a bunch of bands that I have never heard before. But all of the bands that he was playing me sounded fantastic. They were so good, and I'd never heard the names. And I made the comment. I said, "There's too much out there. It's like, how do you find new music?" I personally get overwhelmed when I see how many new bands are out there and how much new music is sort of constantly being released upon the world. And a lot of it is just wonderful. But I think because it is so easy now, you don't have to go into a studio anymore. You can do this in your apartment. You can do this on your own. You don't even need a band. You can do it with Pro Tools and GarageBand. I mean, it is really. I just think that on the one hand, it's incredibly positive that people are being creative, but I've told other people who've asked me, well, what do I do to get in a band, and what do I do to reach the next level? And I say, you basically need a lot of luck. You need to be incredibly good, and you need to stand out somehow from everyone else. And even then, there's certainly no guarantee. And the days of getting development deals from record companies and getting, catching the eye of an A&R person I think all that is just, that's a thing of the past. Sure.
Yeah. You're a drummer. You mentioned the Foo Fighters a while ago. What was it like to just watch? I mean, I know it's been talked about a million times, but the fact that the drummer in the back of Nirvana steps forward and fronts the biggest band in the world. I mean, who could see that coming?
I still marvel at the fact that Dave Grohl has had two separate careers, two separate bands that he drove into the stratosphere without, where does this man get the energy to do this? And he's so kind and down to earth and so likable by everyone. It's sort of like I truly do just say how, how does he do it? I don't know.
He's pretty much become the face of rock, right? I mean,
certainly, yeah. There are always artists that for a while they're capture like that plateau of mega stardom or whatever. And we had the Bono did it, and arguably Sting. But Dave Grohl has managed to pretty much put himself, I don't even think he put himself there. I think the world put him there.
Right.
Like he is just a fantastic musician. He also knows not to say that his writing is formulaic, but when you hear a Foo Fighters song, you know it. You almost know what's coming before it gets there, but it doesn't matter. It's still incredibly, fulfilling. Any Foo Fighters song, any Foo Fighters record that you put on, it's like, yeah, okay, they did it again. How do these guys not fail ever?
Yeah.
And not to get morbid with you, I just think I need to mention to get his due. Did you know Doug Hopkins at all? Did you ever bump into him? Did you ever know him back in the day?
So my Doug Hopkins anecdote, and it's barely an anecdote, but I have a distinct memory of seeing Doug Hopkins after he wasn't with the Gin Blossoms anymore. And I remember seeing him at a concert that we both attended. And I wanted to walk over to him and introduce myself as, a guy in the music scene. And we had not met. And I wanted to ask him, hey, do you want to jam sometime? But Doug was struck a very interesting demeanor, and real tall guy, and there was sort of a darkness around him. And I don't mean that in like a mysterioso way. I just mean like you didn't really know if you wanted to approach him.
Yeah.
Not to say that he was going to turn around and
Right.
say anything inappropriate to me, but you just kind of like, I saw him there by himself, and I thought twice about it. I said, no, you know what? I'm going to give the guy his space. I'm not going to do this now. And literally like a few days later, he was gone. And I've thought about that a lot, obviously, since I started playing with the Gin Blossoms, about how, if I had gone up and said, hey, you want to, get together and jam sometime, like, maybe something interesting could have come out of that, but who knows, all I know is that Doug was a very, I know through the stories and through talking with the guys, Doug was a guy that was sort of, just in a very bad place at that time. And I'm not sure that really it could have played out any differently than it did. That's generally the feeling that I get about it. I mean, it's just incredibly sad,
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, Robin has talked at length about it, and, it's always going to feel like that.
Well, just a tip of the hat to him real quick, because obviously he was a brilliant songwriter. He wrote Hey Jealousy, Found Out About You, and kind of in the same vein of Kurt Cobain, there could have been a lot more he could have gave, but just, too bad.
Indeed.
Tough.
Were you a fan of Neil Peart of Rush, who recently passed away? I mean, you're a drummer. You had to be, right?
Yeah. In fact, I always cite him as the drummer that, if not for Rush's Moving Pictures record, I don't think that I would have gotten over the hump of playing drums along with rock and roll music, because I wore that record out. Like I faked my way through playing along with YYZ and Red Barchetta every afternoon. And I got to the point where I thought, okay, I can do this. I sound like Neil Peart. Well, of course I didn't sound like Neil Peart. I was listening to Neil Peart, and I was sort of playing along thinking that I was doing what he was doing, and I wasn't. But it gave me the courage to say, okay, I can play with other musicians. And so yeah, absolutely 100% between Neil Peart and then I think Stuart Copeland, it gets tiresome probably to mention him, But without Stuart Copeland, I would not even have the inclination of wanting to be a drummer.
Stuart Copeland, obviously, of the Police, and they played the PMAC. We tell stories years back when where LSU plays basketball. They used to have concerts, and people saw Jimmy Buffett and Bon Jovi and all the and Police in their heyday. Eddie Van Halen, real quick, Scott, my probably the hero, my musical hero, who a death really kind of bummed me out. So that happened in the last year as well. We've lost a lot of people in the last, between Glenn Frey and Tom Petty and Prince and all these people. I know people die every year, unfortunately, but it seems like we've had a flood of them.
Well, you know, and it actually, I reflect on this a lot because, you know, you grow up thinking that your heroes will never go away. You'll always have your heroes. And it sort of makes me realize, hey, I'm getting older. And so, yeah, certainly, you know, we're losing our heroes, and it's a thing that, you know, it's going to happen. But it makes you realize that you embrace the time that you do have with them and really appreciate the work that they put out while they're here. So you never take for granted the fact that the Foo Fighters have come out with yet another record, you know, and you really appreciate the fact that, okay, well, like for instance, last night I went and saw King Crimson. Now, King Crimson was a band that, I mean, I'm a closet prog rock nerd. Like, I loved King Crimson, and so I saw them last night, and fantastic. Okay, they have 3 drummers. It's like a drum clinic, but then you've got Tony Levin and Robert Fripp, and you know, it's phenomenal. So I was sitting there and I was just soaking it up and thinking, you know, I mean, I've even read that this might be the last time that King Crimson ever tour. So I was just appreciating the moment that I had there with, you know, with something that may not be happening ever again, you know?
Well, to finish on an up note, you guys are still touring, big crowds, and I know some of the COVID stuff has popped back up, but fortunately, hopefully that goes away quickly and everyone stays healthy. But you guys have had another big summer.
Yeah, I mean, the shows are slowly coming back, and like you said, you know, just fingers crossed that doesn't get derailed again, you know. I mean, I think at this point it's like, you know, there's nothing that we can do. I mean, nothing that the music industry can necessarily do about what is going on. But I think that this time maybe they're a little more prepared for options as opposed to just shutting the whole thing down. Which, boy, I hope that doesn't happen. But yeah.
Well, you're a big sports fan too. I know you went to all the NBA Finals, you know, games.
Yes, I
Chris
did.
Chris Paul. There you go. There's the Suns.
Chris Paul, we enjoyed him for I think it was 7 years down the road with the Hornets, now the Pelicans, right. And I think people are rooting for him here to win that title. It didn't work out this year, but maybe next year or whatever.
Yeah. Well, all I know, it worked out for him. He signed a $93 million contract. So, woo.
Yeah, that's.
I'll tell you what. To not win the I mean, to not win the championship and make $93 million, I'll take that.
The only gig better than that, Scott, is fired head college football coach to get, hey, you're out. Here's $20 million to go away. See you.
How can we get that? Like, sign me up for that.
That is not a day job.
So, no, right?
Well, Scott, I really appreciate it. This was a fascinating conversation. I've always loved the Gin Blossoms.
Appreciate you having me. Yeah, it's fun.
Best of luck on the road, and hopefully you find your way back to Louisiana sooner or later.
I think we will. I'll check my itinerary and let you know.